Hey friends! Welcome back to Glowforge 101 here on Auntie Tay's YouTube channel. I'm Katie from Things Katie Makes, and today you're going to get an overview of the Glowforge user interface. This interface is how you will communicate from your Wi-Fi connected device, your computer, your tablet, or your phone, to your Glowforge and tell it what operations to perform on your materials. Now, if you are coming to Glowforge from a common die cutting machine, Cricut or Silhouette for example, some of this may seem very familiar, while other parts will seem very foreign. The Glowforge workspace has some tools, mainly available with a premium membership, that allow you to design within the tool. But for the most part, the workspace is a communication device, telling the machine how fast to move the printer head and at what level of power for each portion of the design you've loaded. Let's walk through the workspace so I can show you what I mean. When you first log on to app.glowforge.com, you will be on a navigation page that shows all things sitting in your print library. This contains designs you've purchased from the catalog, created yourself using the Glowforge tools, or uploaded. Let's take a catalog design into the Glowforge workspace to see the options that are available. First, you'll find the design you're looking for. This simple pendant is a great example as it uses score and cut, and you can use text and a design element, which you will engrave to complete it. This is available free in the catalog for new users. After adding this design, you'll go back to app.glowforge.com, where you will now see this design in your library. Click this design and it will take you through to the workspace. You'll see in the top left corner the choice for your material. If you are using proof grade material, this will populate automatically as soon as your Glowforge registers the barcode. If not, you'll want to choose something similar as a starting point. So if you're using a maple plywood that is 1/8 of an inch thick, try medium maple plywood. Once you choose that, you'll see the operations down the left side of the screen. Each step can have a different function. This is important to understand as you start to use non-catalog designs. Colors and groupings in files you upload will determine what can be separated into steps and what order those steps come into the workspace. In this case, we have lines that are set to score and holes in a backer shape that are set to cut. We will add text and a design element to engrave to make a complete file. So, what are these functions, and in what order do you want to accomplish them? Cut. This is the most obvious. You'll likely use the full power of the laser at a low speed to cut through your material. Engrave. The laser will move back and forth at a much lower power and a quicker speed to remove part of the surface of your material, leaving a divot or an engraving. Score. Kind of somewhere in between the two. Moves at a slightly lower speed than an engrave, and a lower power than a cut, and follows a line path to create a divot, but not cut the material fully through. You may find that you'll choose to change designs intended for an engrave over to scoring if it will achieve the same effect, as it can save you a significant amount of time on a project. Before you change the settings for these steps, let's look at the size of the project. If you use your pointer arrow to drag and highlight, you can select all the items in the project together to resize, similar to what you might do in die cutting software. Once selected, you'll see a ruler at the bottom left corner of the interface. This will tell you the size and placement of your design. You'll see your project is currently a 1.65 inch circle. Make this into a slightly smaller version by dragging the design by the bottom right corner, and it will maintain its proportions. If you hold down the Shift key, you'll be able to size independently. This is opposite of what you might be familiar with if you're used to using Adobe Illustrator. Go ahead and make this design about 1 inch wide. You can also change the exact dimensions using that ruler. The linked chain that you'll see between the sizes will determine if you maintain the proportions or if you want to size the sides independently. Now that your project is sized, you're going to add the text and an image of your choice to your pendant. First, find a design element you like by clicking the plus tool and searching for an image of your choosing. I wanted to add some stars, so I found a few and added them to the design. You can size and place these by using the corner of the design, and to rotate, you'll want to grab the design from the top. After placing your design element, you'll want to add the text. To do this, you'll choose the T tool at the top, choosing a font and adding your word, placing it on your pendant, and then dragging the text box to size it into the pendant appropriately. I chose the Rouge script font for this example. Now, you'll want to group that new text and the design element to the pendant, in case you need to move the design as you place it on your material, or if you want to resize the entire thing altogether. To do this, select your text, your pendant, and the design element, right-click, and select Group. Your design is almost ready to go. Time to move the steps into the order we want to use them and choose our settings. First, choose the cut portion of the project and drag that portion to the last step. If you don't cut last, you risk that your project will move, and you may not like where any engraved or scored portions of the design land. You can do this with any of the steps as needed. On to settings. Let's start with your engraved name. If you want this to be the most prominent part of the project, choose HD Graphic as a starting point. You can see the details of the settings by clicking on the arrow next to the HD Graphic setting you chose. For this example, reduce the lines per inch to 270 to keep the engraving a little lighter. Material testing is key here to help you make decisions for each project. The stars or other design element you added to this pendant do not need to be as bold, so choose SD Graphic as your starting point here. You can choose different settings for the speed, power, and lines per inch to lighten this even more. I chose 225 lines per inch and 700 speed for this example. The score designs defaulted to draft, which I like for this design, but you should quickly check the power and speed before moving on. Last, you have the cut step. If you are using proof grade materials here, you can go with your proof grade cut and be sure that it will cut through clean. If you are not, you'll want to make sure you test the cut settings, maybe even cut just a small circle, prior to cutting the whole design and wasting material. Lines that don't cut through are very difficult to fix. Other things to note in the workspace. The arrow. This allows you to select things on your workspace. The hand. This allows you to move your view of the workspace around, so if you're zoomed into a design, you can move your workspace with the hand to see what you need. You can also move the workspace around by holding the spacebar. Undo and redo arrows. Keyboard shortcuts will also work here as well. So if you're used to using Ctrl-Z on your Mac, you can use that to undo. The plus tool. This allows you to add artwork or additional files to your workspace. With premium access, you can add designs Glowforge provides, but you can always add your own designs here as well. I will often use this if I have a little space left on my material and I want to fill that space before completing a cut. The circle or rectangle button allows you to add shapes directly to the workspace: line segments, ellipses, rectangles, stars, and polygons. Similar to resizing your projects, holding the Shift key will allow you to distort the shape versus just dragging the corners, which will maintain the shape's integrity. The T tool allows you to enter your own text. Best used for engraving, as you can't weld text easily to make sure all your letters connect. The three dots. This gives you access to additional features, most importantly, set focus, which I recommend you use with every print. The right-hand side of the workspace will give you messages about the status of your prints, the time it will take to complete, any errors you might encounter, and it will let you know when your print is done. And that's it. That's your workspace overview. Happy forging!